welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I will be my task 2 Skillshop project series. So as said in the previous video, task 1, I have designed the responsive sign in and sign up pages using HTML, Tailwind, CSS and JavaScript. So now in the second task, I will program the complete user sign up process, including input validations, both front-end validation and back-end validation, secure password hashing, database insertion, ER diagram explanation, and HideSQL output explanation. Okay, so now let's begin. In the previous video, I have explained that this HTML file contains two main forms, sign in and sign up. So for this task, we will focus on the sign up form. Each input field such as first name, last name, email, password, confirm password, account type and terms checkbox has a unique ID. So these IDs are very important because JavaScript uses them to retrieve user input values. So the error message container is initially hidden using a CSS class. Instead of creating multiple error message elements, I have used one reusable message container. So this makes the code cleaner and more easier to manage. Also, the form does not directly submit using the default HTML submit behavior. Instead, the button is set to button so that JavaScript can control the validation and submission process. So as explained, the toggle forms function switches between sign in and sign up forms. It uses class list to toggle to add or remove the hidden class. So when a user clicks sign up, the sign in form becomes hidden and then the sign up form becomes active, visible. So this prevents page reloading and improves user experience. And then the toggle between password and text in password inputs. So this means the toggle password function changes the input type between password and text. So when the type is password, the characters are hidden. When can be changed into text, so they become visible. So this helps user verify what they typed without compromising security. Okay, now let's move on to the create account function, which is made in auth.js script. So the create account function is executed when the user clicks the create account button. It begins by retrieving values from each input field using document.getElementById.value. So this extracts the data typed by the user, and for the radio buttons and the checkboxes, the checked property is used to determine whether the option is selected. And then the function selects the error message container and removes the hidden class so that the validation messages can be displayed. So instead of creating multiple separate message elements, we can use one message container, so that makes the code more cleaner and easier to maintain. Next we have the validation part. So the validation is performed using if-else statements structure. So the first condition checks whether any required field is empty using logical not exclamation mark. So if any field is empty, an error message is shown, and if the next condition checks if the password length is less than 8 characters, then the another condition checks whether the password and the confirm password matches, and then the additional conditions verify that if an account type is selected and that terms and conditions um, checkbox is checked. So this means that each condition stops further execution until the issue is fixed. So this ensures that only valid data is sent to the server. So as you can see, if I go on and click on sign up button over here, it takes you to the sign up page where the create account function is used. So over here, if we don't give any inputs and just click on the create account button, you can see that it gives us an error message saying all the fields are required. And if I still type the first name and click on the button, it again says that all the fields are required. You should fill all these out so that all these inputs are filled. Until then, it won't show any other error messages. Okay, now let's move on to the next part, the form data. So the form data is used to send data to the server. So over here, using a variable, I have given form that is assigned to new form data. So inside that, I have given form.append using brackets. I have given fname and comma fname, which means it takes the variable fname to the backend as a key fname, as in first name. So you can use this same code line to last name, email, password, and after that I have used to show my account type by using this code line. It is actually a ternary operator, so this means it is a shortcut where you can use without using the if-else structure. Over here, this is the condition, then the value if it's true, and then the value if it's false. So this means over here, if the seller is checked, it says to use the seller value, else use the buyer's value. And next we have XML HTTP request, where you can send the AJAX request. So AJAX allows to send the data to the server without refreshing the page. So over here in the first code line, I have r.onReadyStateChange that is assigned to function. So this means that this runs every time the request state changes. Next we have inside the if structure with the condition r.readyState that is equal to 4, which shows us that there are 4 states to this process. So it starts from 0, saying that the request is not initialized. Then the first one is server connection is established, and the second state is that saying that the request is received, and the third one is saying that the processing is being done, and the fourth one is saying that the request has been finished. So in the last state, it says that the server has finished processing. And then again inside the if structure, we have the condition r.status that is equal to 200, which means that the response from the server is success. So if the response from the server is success, it shows the response text as success, and it says to change, to remove the error message text red to green. If the, and also it says that to reload the page within 2 seconds. So it shows the request, it shows the error message as request failed. And then finally we have this code line r.open post method, the file we are sending it to, and stating that is true. So we are sending this via form. This is the way you can send data to the backend file. Okay, now we will move on to the backend file, create account process.php file. So in this, it means that the server receives data using the post $_post array using the post method. So even though front-end validation already exists, back-end validation is still necessary for security. So that means the users can bypass JavaScript, so the server must recheck all the inputs. So over here I have taken all the data using the post array. Then we will check if any field is empty. So for example, if the first name is empty, it shows a message saying please enter the first name, and then it shows if the last name is not entered, it shows a message saying please enter the last name. And then again, if the email is empty, it shows please enter the email address. And over here it shows that the string length email, the string length of the email is greater than or equal to 150, echoing the message email must be less than 150 characters. And again, in the if else condition, we have filter variable stating that I have to validate my email, that if the email you have entered is invalid email address. And in again another if else statement, I have empty password saying that if the password input is empty, please enter the password. And it shows that if the password that I have entered in the empty space is also entered the same in a confirm password. So if not, it shows a message passwords do not match. And again, using a string length, I have used the variable password. So this means if the characters, the length of the password is greater than 8 or less than 20, so stating that the password length should be between 8 and 20. And again, in the next if else statement, I have given if the check terms and condition button is not ticked, then you must read it, check and agree to the terms and conditions button. So if in another if else statement, it says that if I haven't selected any account type, I should select the account type. Okay, so now before storing the password in the database, we have to get the password hashed using the password hash function. So this means that it converts the plain password into a secure encrypted string using the process hashing. This means that it can protect users' information, because if even the database is accessed illegally, the original passwords cannot be retrieved. So this means that it is a very important security practice in web development. Before all these parts, I will first show you the connection.php, and then we will move back into create account process.php. Okay, now we will move on to the database connection.php. So in here we have made a database class that manages the database connection using the MySQL extension. So over here I have used for that the localhost, root, the password, the database name, and the MySQL port. And the get connection over here method checks whether a connection already exists. So if not, it creates a new connection using the server name, username, password, database name, and the port number, as I said before. Next, in the public static function for insert, update, and delete, I will use the prepared statements for both the methods insert, update, delete, and search methods. So for the next step, I have used the prepare statements for IUD and search methods. So this means that the prepare function creates a secure SQL statement, and the bind param function binds user input values to placeholders. So that means that this prevents SQL injection attack. And finally, the execute method runs the query and results that are returned accordingly. So by using this, we can prepare statements that ensures safe and professional database operations. Okay, now we will move on to the ER diagram. So over here I have already made a Skillshop database. So this means that the ER diagram contains three main tables: user, account type, and user has account type. So this means that the user table stores user details and authentication information. The account type table stores available roles like seller and buyer. The user has account type table is a junction table that connects both user and account type. So this design supports to a many relationship, meaning that a user can have multiple roles in future by using user has account type, but the active account type ID column in user tables stores the currently active role, stating that relationship as one-to-many relationship. And as you can see in the user table, I have used timestamp columns. So this means that the created at column automatically stores the registration date and the time using the current timestamp, and the updated at column automatically updates whenever the record is modified. So this means that these timestamps help track user activities without writing additional code. Now we have created the tables and have created the relationships between them. We have to forward engineer our database. The tables that were created using forward engineering from the ER diagram in MySQL Workbench. So this means the visual design was converted into actual SQL tables. Okay, now we will move on to the next step, as we have already made the connection.php file and also created the database Skillshop. So now for the next part, we have to check if the email already exists. So to do that, we have to connect it to the database connection. So over here I have included my connection.php file to create account process.php by using require. And for the next part, we'll check if the email already exists. So over here now I have to check whether the email is already registered. So again I will use a prepared statement with a placeholder question mark for security. That means SQL injection. So this query searches the user table for an existing email. So this is the placeholder, and this is the type, and this is the parameter, the placeholder that I will get the input from. And to the next part, an if statement, I will check whether the query has worked, then check whether the number of rows is returned. If num rows is greater than 0, it means that the email already exists in the database, and then if not, it will echo. And then if the email is found, I immediately return an error message saying the email is already registered. So this means that this prevents duplicate accounts with the same email. And in the next part, I will insert the user into the user table. So to do that, if the email does not exist, the system moves to the else block over here. Now I will insert the new user into the user table. Okay, now I will use the IUD method is used for insert, update and delete operations. So let me break this down. The SQL query contains 5 placeholders over here: first name, last name, email, password, and the active account type ID. So for the placeholders, I will show 5 question marks, and for the parameter types, I will show 4 S's, saying that these are strings, and the active account type ID as an integer I. So it says that the F name is string, and the last name is string, email is string, password is also a string, and the I means that the active account type ID is an integer. So this means that the prepared statements bind these values safely before executing. So it protects the system from SQL injection attacks. Now to see if the user that I have inserted to the database is successfully inserted over here in the table, inside a if statement within a condition, I will write $insert user. So here, if the insertion is successful, the insert user returns true. Now the system needs the ID of the newly created user. So to do that, this retrieves the auto increment ID that was generated when the user was inserted. Then for example, if the previous user ID was 5, this new user might get ID 6. So we use this. So that means we can store this in the user ID because we need it for the relationship table. Now we will insert into the user has account type table. So to create that, we have to build the relationship between the user and the account table. We have already done this in ER diagram. So now we have to write the code for that. The user has an account type table is a junction table used to create a many-to-many relationship. So this means that it inserts the statement so that it can store the new user's ID and the selected account type ID. II here means these both are integers. User ID is also integer, account type ID is also an integer, and all these are inserted in, then it means that it will return a success or an error message. So this is a ternary operator in PHP, stating that if the insert role is true, it echoes success, but if it is a false, it echoes error assigning account type. So then the response is sent back to the JavaScript via Ajax, and if the JavaScript receives success, it shows the green success message and reloads the page. And then in the last else, I have given echo error creating user account. This means if inserting into the user table fails for any reason, the system returns this message saying that it ensures the proper error handling. So let me explain you now why this whole process is important. So this process is important because this is the backend logic which ensures the only valid account types are used, duplicate emails are prevented, passwords are securely stored, user role relationship is properly maintained, and SQL injection is prevented, while the database integrity is maintained. Okay, now let me show you the output of the code. So as you can see, this is the sign in form, and below that you have a link to the sign up form. So when you click on it, it takes you to the sign up form, and over here you have the inputs, first name, last name, email address, password, and the confirm password, and then the account type, I am a skill seller or a skill buyer. Then you have the button for terms and conditions, and below that you have create account. But now let us see if this works. So without entering any data into these inputs, I will just click on the create account button and see whether the error message pops out or not. So as you can see, as I have not entered any data in these inputs, it shows us a message, error message saying that all the fields are required. So let us include our first name data in this input field and click on the create account button, but as you can see, it still shows us the same error message as before. All fields are required. So now I have to also enter my data for the last name, and then again click on this button, but still it shows the same error. So that means until you enter all the data in this form, it shows that all the fields are required. So for this I will give test example at gmail.com, and I will give a random password as 5489, and then click on this button. It still shows the same error message. So as I have entered only 4 numbers, I will enter 82314. I will copy this and paste this password over here, and then click on the create account button, and you can see that it shows us a different error message saying please select a account type. So here before moving on to the account type, I will see if whether I input a wrong password to my confirm password. It gives us an error. It shows us the error as passwords do not match. Okay, so I will delete that number and move on to the next step. Over here I have to select the account type. I will tell that I'm a skill seller, and then click on create account button. Then it shows us the error message stating please read and check I agree to terms and conditions. So until I click on this, I can't register my account. So to do that, I will check on this button. I will check on this and then click on the create account button, and now it shows us the successful message, register successful, and takes you to the sign in page within the duration of 2 seconds. And now I will see whether the data that I have inserted in the input fields are updated over here in the Skillshop database. So I will go to the database, Skillshop database, and go to the user table to see the data. You can see over here that my data has been successfully updated over here, inserted over here. My first name, last name, email, and the password is you can't see that because we are using the password hash, which secures the information of the user's password. And then we have the active account type. So first means the buyer and the second means the seller. And then it also shows us the time that we have created this and the time that it has been updated. Okay, that's it for today's video. In this task 2, I have successfully implemented the front-end validation, the back-end validation. I have secured password hashing, the database insertion, and the ER diagram design. So this means that this ensures the security, the data validation, and how clean you can make the database design. So thank you for watching and see you in the next task.